roughest, longest off-road race in this part of the world.
It's the toughest off-road race I've ever been in.
That's what makes it exciting.
In the hard-driving world of off-road racing, the title of champion isn't taken lightly. That's why Yamaha came to the rugged Baja Peninsula of Mexico. If they were to prove that the Banshee Moto 4 is the world's best ATV, they had to do it here, in the infamous Baja 1000. Baja is no ordinary weekend race. It takes tough veterans to win. Riders like Dean Sundahl and Craig Corda.
A lot of things run through your head. You've battled elements of nature, you've battled other racers, you've battled the people that don't even know there's a race going on. So when I get down, when I can see the finish line, and my heart starts going nuts, and I'm sitting there going, we're first overall. We're not just running here, we're first ATV across the line. When I got to the finish line, it was the best feeling I think I've ever had in my life. Pre-running is one of the most important things. Dean and I, we pre-ran in conditions that were unreal. We had torrential rains. It was fun. We had a great time, and it helped us for the race because we knew it was going to be wet. Dean prepped the bike perfectly.
Mostly just making sure it's real waterproof, but it's already such a bulletproof machine that that's never been a problem.
Dean started the race on the Banshee Moto 4 at 6:30 in the morning. The first 30 miles was just actually getting down the track, making sure everything was perfect on it.
The preparation is over. Now, there's no turning back. Ahead lies a day and a night's worth of intense racing, looping nearly 700 miles from Ensenada to San Felipe and back. Sundahl started the Banshee last in line with nearly 24 competitors to overtake. At Ojos Negros, Corda waits anxiously for Sundahl's arrival.
I'm trying to just be calm, just like going out on a Sunday ride with Dean. That's all I'm trying to do is ride like we do during pre-running, and that's plenty fast enough. Our Banshee goes 100, so we're going to average this race, I hope, in 50 miles an hour. The motorcycles probably average 55, and today they're probably going to have a problem there. The overall win is possible. This is the best conditions for an overall win, so I hope we have everything ready, because this is the time to do it if there's a time to do it.
50 minutes from the start, Sundahl brings the Banshee into Ojos Negros.
We raced that 30 miles at a very conservative race speed to stay with everybody, but not to damage anything. So if something did happen, we could fix it. We had all the tools, all the spares that we needed right at the first 30-mile pit, but we didn't have any problems. So by the time the first 30 miles had gone by, Dean was already probably in 10th place, starting last.
This so far is all right, but it's going to get worse. It's going to get much worse. But it's going to be a long day. See how it goes.
How's the bike running?
Good. You heard it, didn't you? Sounds good.
Since it had been raining for 2 weeks straight, we had 30-foot mud puddles, water spraying everywhere. Next thing I know, we came into Santa Catarina, and that's where Dean got on.
Averaging over 60 miles per hour, Corda and the Banshee scream into the second rider change.
Perfect. Everything runs good. I was real mellow. Wanted to make sure that I didn't get tangled up with anybody and just, get it to here and let Dean take over because he owns the summit.
The summit is a boulder-strewn staircase of jagged rock reaching to over 4,000 feet above sea level. If anyone can get over it, it's the Moto 4 and Dean Sundahl.
He's been over there more times than I've been over it, and he's the fastest guy I know over it. I was telling my dad he's going to come around and in either first place or second. I go, he's going to make some time because we have raced against Dean, and that's where he always seemed to beat us. When I go to the races, I look at the roster, see who's on there. When I see Dean's name, I kind of go, well, there's the guy we need to beat. And he's always a contender. I'm real happy to be riding with him. It's a long section, so Dean should be coming around pretty soon. Yeah. This is, like I said, he's real good through here, so I think he'll keep the bike together. And we're not even halfway through this thing, so you figure this is just barely getting the bike broke in and warmed up, and now we're going to put the wick to it because this is all high-speed stuff. Just how we calculated it'd take him 3 hours, and right at the button, we seen the helicopter, and we knew Dean was under him. How is it?
Great. Just call.
Good. How tired, Dean?
Where?
We talked a little bit, said there was nothing going on with the bike, nothing weird, nothing crazy.
It's running good, you know, hauling there. Good. Watch out for the... You got everything? Goggles on?
Yeah.
I was going as fast as I could. No, Banshee's screaming. Oh, it's running good. Woo.
Power is amazing. Motorcycles have been around a lot longer than a Banshee has, and Yamaha's built a bike that's competitive in 2 years. And you talk to people along the track going through Borrego, they say, you went faster than any car, motorcycle. He goes, you flew through there. And I go, man, this thing, when you get it up on the pipe, it just goes. The Banshee Moto 4 throughout the whole race was incredible. We didn't have any problems with it, and it's built indestructible.
The Banshee may seem indestructible, but the same cannot be said for the rest of the competitors. Not yet halfway into the race, the Baja has begun to take its toll on man and machine. Not far behind the Banshee team are the overall car and truck leaders, including the heavily favored Bob Gordon.
I like finishing ahead of those guys because I don't want them passing me. I'm the first one to pull over when one of those guys comes up behind us. I really enjoy beating those guys. They have the big factories behind them, all the big pits and all the big cash. Their speeds are so much faster than we are in the high speed stuff, and we beat them in basically the really rough, rugged terrain. That it's exciting. It's a good feeling. The maneuverability of the Banshee, it's agile, lightweight, and this way the suspension works on it, you can ride it as fast as a motorcycle. Did have a couple dice outs. One guy, I knew the track would be cutting off, splitting. I was in dust, and I'd rather, if I can get ahead of him without endangering our position in the lead we had, I'd get by him, and then I could ride a lot better. Just like passing him in the pine forest. Once I had an open stretch, I'd get right on their tail, and he'd start heading towards the dry lake bed, and I went the opposite way. Once I had an open stretch, the horsepower of the Banshee would just hook up the tires so quick, I could just downshift once and then speed shift, and then I'd pull ahead of him and pull right in front of him. It would be no problem. motorcycle comes into a corner and it has to ride up in a berm to stay in the corner, and then they accelerate out, whereas a Banshee comes into a corner, you lock up the brakes just a little bit, pitch it sideways, and then roll the throttle on full blast, and it just smokes out of corners faster than a motorcycle.
By now, the Banshee had passed all other factory teams in its class, but a muddy lake bed and the treacherous Matomi Wash still lay ahead.
It had been raining, and all the water off the mountains comes down into Diablo dry lake bed, which is a soggy, wet lake bed this year. So I started going across that, and I realized that it wasn't as wet as they thought it was going to be, and they had course markers to go around it, and if they said if you want to go down the middle of it, that's the original course, go for it. So I held it wide open, and I went flying. We just kept it wide open all the way to Matomi Wash. This would probably be one of the critical places in the race where if something was going to happen, it was going to be at Matomi Wash. It gets monotonous. You get into these little quarter-mile stretches, and you get going up to a good pace, and then you got to drop it down into first gear, go through a bunch of rocks. The Matomi Wash was the most difficult. High-speed sand wash, and about every quarter mile it would be bowling ball-sized rocks. And they come up so fast, it was split decision time, and I must have hit 20 of these little sections where you just had to find a way to get around these rocks. Slow as you want, Craig. Don't worry about it, because we're going to get on the roads and we're going to smoke everybody when we get on some high-speed driving conditions.
The Banshee came through Matomi without a scratch. Now, it was time to put some more space between the Moto 4 and the rest of the crowd. And Corda poured it on.
After I got on Matomi Wash with all the rocks, a little bit frustrated, because thinking maybe guys are catching me, not because I was going real slow through the rocks, and that maybe the other teams may be getting closer and closer. And after I drove the San Rafael to San Felipe, I said, there ain't nobody within 20 minutes of me, because I flew down that road. San Felipe, and everyone's going nuts. All the people were waving me on. They knew I was the first Moto 4 Banshee through, so I knew I was in the lead by 15, 20 minutes. By now I was getting a little bit fatigued. I go, I'll just take it easy, and I couldn't though. I just got worked up and started hitting whoops faster and faster, and the bike was handling so good. I go, why back off a good pace? I kept it going pretty good and got down on the Zoo Road. That's where the track gets into the big whoop-de-doo section. Before the race, Dean and I were talking about how are we going to break this up. Since I was going to be fatigued from running 220 miles, he said he'd take the whoop section, and then he'd let me have the bike back over to do some more racing. High-speed drifts the whole way. It was fun. No problems, no worries. I think we set our own pace. Keep those guys wondering how far ahead we are. We're going to have a good time with them the whole way back. Dean took the section and was an animal. Just held it as hard as he could for as long as he could and just rode the bike to its maximum potential. And that's where one of the cars passed us, but it was a first place car. It was all gentlemen. Dean pulled over, let the car by, pulled back on the track. We didn't lose any time. He didn't lose any time. It's the way racing's supposed to be, because we're not racing against cars, they're not racing against us.
Sundahl brings the Banshee to the next pit, where Corda is waiting. Some of the most difficult racing is yet to come.
Making the difference, going the distance, a Banshee.
My next section was deep rutted type desert racing. Since it was 3 in the afternoon, where the sun was starting to go down, long shadows facing me and the sun was in my eyes. A little bit conservative. We were in the lead. Why have something weird happen? I got across San Mateos Pass. I got up on the highway and I go, I'm going to see how the bike's running, so when I bring it to Dean, I can tell him. Pulled into Mike's Sky Rancho. Since it was evening, we decided to put the lights on in case Dean got out there and we didn't have the lights in time for him at the other pit. Dean took out of the pits and the bike sounded perfect. When he gets up to Mike's Sky Rancho, that's a nice graded road with nice sweeping corners. You can go through the 6-speed transmission, and this is where the Banshee goes perfect. Brought the bike into me at the last 30 miles. Nothing was wrong. I took off, real windy roads, and it was neat. It was kind of like I was driving a car. I'd come into corners on the inside and downshift 3 times and power out, and then go out to the outside. It was like I was driving like a little Formula One car. And I was all excited, so we came into the finish, and the bike sits there right now. We just got done doing the film on it. It still runs good.
Yamaha's Banshee Moto4 racing team had taken on the toughest of all off-road races. They did what few ever accomplish. They beat the Baja.